Turn to Genesis. For those of you that don't know where Genesis is, go to your table of contents, flip over one page, and you should be at Genesis. And we're going to be in chapter 2, and I'll get there in a little bit. But what I want to talk about first is I want to talk about a great passion that I have in my life. And so most of you are probably thinking, oh, you know, he's going to talk about the kids and the youth, and that is a great passion of mine, but no, we're not going to talk about that this morning. And then you go, oh, well, that's so sweet. He's going to talk about his love for his wife and his passion for his relationship and his marriage. And no, I'm not going to talk about that either. I love her so much, but we're going to talk about a different passion today. And one of my great passions in life are chicken nuggets from Chick-fil-A. There is something holy and sacred about chicken nuggets and that holy Chick-fil-A sauce or ranch or whatever you dip it in. I think it's communion. You might as well go ahead and call it communion. Amen, right? So we're trying to watch what we eat a little bit, but anytime you go to a place like Chick-fil-A, it's kind of hard to watch what you eat, right? So We'll get to, I promise that I'm not just randomly talking about Chick-fil-A. We'll get to Chick-fil-A in a minute. But I'm going to entitle this message, Jesus at Work. And for those of you that have been in church for a while, you may go, okay, well, he's going to talk about how Jesus is working in our lives and how, you know, he's doing great things in our lives that maybe we don't know. No, I'm not going to talk about that. I'm literally going to talk about Jesus at your workplace. Jesus and working. We're literally going to talk about Jesus at your work. And the reason that I'm going to talk about that is because I read a study the other day that said 50%, for those of you that aren't good with percentages, that's half of the people that are Christians, 50% of Christians have never heard a sermon on work. Never heard a sermon on working. And so that's one of the reasons. And the other reason is because you may just be one of those people that kind of just clocks in and clocks out. And so we're going to talk about things a little deeper about work and Jesus in the workplace. So before we get into all of this, I know not everybody in here works. We've got the kids in here this morning, and I know they're like, Boone, I don't have a job, and you know I'm in kindergarten, and I don't plan on working anytime soon. Well, hopefully this sinks into your heart, and your parents are like, yes, I hope this really sinks into their heart, and they remember it whenever they're 16 and they're able to work. And then the other thing is I know some of you are retired, some of you don't work because you're retired, but working can be anything. Working doesn't have to be your a literal job. Working can just be a passion. It can be, you know, maybe you like to garden, maybe you like to, you know, whatever work is for you. I don't know, do we have any stay-at-home moms or dads? My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My sister-in-law is a stay-at-home mom, and for those of you that have never seen somebody that is a stay-at-home mom or dad, that's work. And all my ladies said amen, right? Yeah, it's a lot of work. I've seen it. So it can be anything. So what I want to do is I'm going to ask you a few questions, and I want us to be honest. I want us to be transparent. This is a trust tree, okay? We're all under it, and we can all trust each other, okay? So we're going to be honest, and we're going to be transparent, okay? I'm going to throw you a softball question here at the beginning, a real easy, slow-pitch softball question, okay? So who would honestly say 100%, absolutely, I love every single aspect of my job? 100%, every single thing. 100%. Nobody, okay? That's cool. It's not a problem. All right, second question. We're starting to get a little harder. Who would say that they go to their job just to get a paycheck? Honest, transparent, paycheck to paycheck. You're just like, hey, I just go and get a paycheck. All right, cool. We got a couple people that are being honest. All right. Who would say that they are just counting down the days, the weeks, the months, the years until retirement? Something else I really love about this is, for those of you that don't know, Christy, my wife, she just got her first teaching job back this summer, and she got the job because she was qualified, but the person whose room she took over retired. And so that's how the opening was there. And the lady literally said, I am done. She left everything in the room. She said, I don't want it. I'm out. And she said, peace, I'm done. And so Christy Ray goes, I can't wait until I retire and I get to do that. And I was like, honey, you got a long ways to go. So you got a few years where you can do that. So she's already counting down the years until she gets to retire. But all right, last question. And I bet we can all raise our hand on this one. Who would say that they get extremely anxious or stressed out because of their job? Anybody get stressed out because of your job? I'm going to be honest, my boss is right here, but sometimes he gives me some things and it's just like, whoa, I don't know what I'm doing, and it kind of freaks me out, but it makes me stronger in the end, right? And so maybe sometimes that's what your boss is doing to you, or maybe you're your own boss, or maybe it's just your schedule is so overloaded that you get stressed out and things like that. So hopefully we can talk about that, and hopefully you will understand a little more about work and why we work, and what you can do to hopefully, maybe you've got some problems and you can, figure out how to solve them. So, like I said, I want us to take a deeper look into work. And some of you may not know this, but God actually created work. God created work. He made work. And he didn't just, we're going to talk about this in just a second. Chapter 2, verse 15. We'll get to verse 15 if you aren't there already. So, God didn't just create the garden and Adam randomly goes, okay, I'm just going to start working in the garden and tending to it and things like that. That's not how it went down. This is how it went down. 2:15, it says, the Lord God took the man being Adam, and he put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and to take care of it. So man, or Adam, wasn't created and then just said, hey, let's go and, let's go tend to the garden. Let's go, have some fun working. No, that's not what happened. It was something that was declared by God. He said, hey, Adam, I'm going to put you to work. This is your job. Your job is to tend to the garden. And so, he wasn't just placed there to enjoy and reap the benefits and things like that. He was put there to do that, but he was also put there to work and take care of everything that was in the garden, right? So then, most of you, hopefully you all know what comes next, is Adam and Eve. They sin by eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And then that is when work became hard and toilsome, and they were like, man, this stinks. Work is not fun. And before, Adam was like, this is cool. It's not that big of a deal. But that's whenever it came in. It was like, okay, now work is not fun. Chapter 3, verse 17 through 19. This is what God said. He said, since you listened to your wife, and you ate from the tree whose fruit I commanded you not to eat, the ground is cursed because of you. All your life, you're going to struggle to scratch a living from it. It will grow thorns and thistles for you, though you will eat of its grains. By the sweat of your brow will you have food to eat until you return to the ground from which you were made. For you were made from dust, and to dust you will return. So yes, the sin changed the nature of work, but it didn't change the fact that God created work. So God created work for us, and it was always in the plan for us to work. But it got changed once sin was introduced into the world. So that's why we think sin is hard. That's why it's toilsome. That's why it's difficult, because once sin was introduced, then the plan changed. But the plan was always for us to work. All right? Whatever, and like I said, whatever work is for you, it was meant to happen. So we've always been made to work in some sort of fashion, some sort of way, whatever that is for you, and it's always been meant to be pleasing to God. It's always been meant to please Him and to make Him happy. And we can see the emphasis on work being pleasing to God in Colossians in chapter 3, verses 23 to 24. And it says, whatever you do, do your work heartily, as for the Lord rather than for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the reward of the inheritance. It is the Lord Christ whom you serve. So get this, you don't serve your boss. You don't even serve customers. You serve God. So in your work, you don't serve anybody but God. And so I think the problem is with a lot of Christians when it comes to work is that they're sitting behind a desk, or they're out in the field, or they're out doing construction work on the construction side. Whatever it is that you do, you're out there and you go, if I'm sitting behind this desk, if I'm sitting out here doing this or doing that, I can't serve God. You think, man, I have to be a minister or a worship pastor, or, I have to work in the church in order to serve God. And that is absolutely, completely false. That's not true at all. It's your work, whatever it is meant to be pleasing to God. You are serving God when you work, whatever your job is. So, you may think that you have to have this particular career, but you don't have to be like Pastor Rick and I. You don't have to be working in the church in order to be serving God. It's not the case. And so I want to explain to you how this is not the case by using an acronym. I love acronyms. For those of you that don't know what acronyms are, it's a word and then you break down the word by having all the letters. You're about to find out what an acronym is if you don't yet. So the word that we're going to break down is career, because that's what you have if you're working, right, is a career. And so here we go, bringing Chick-fil-A back into the picture. I told you I didn't just talk about how good their chicken nuggets were and we were done, even though they are amazing, and I could probably do a whole sermon on that. But we're going to talk about Chick-fil-A in this case. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a word from each letter, and then I'm going to tell you how Chick-fil-A does it very well, and then I'm going to tell you about God and how we should do it in our workplace and what the Bible says and things like that. And I want to stress, I have nothing to do with Chick-fil-A. Unfortunately, they are not sponsoring me or paying me anything to do this. I'm not promoting Chick-fil-A in any way. I just love Chick-fil-A, and they do a very good job at what they do. I could have probably done this with any restaurant, but I just picked Chick-fil-A, okay? So I just want to make that clear for everybody in here and for those on the internet, so I don't get sued. I just really like Chick-fil-A. So we are not in any way supporting or promoting or anything like that Chick-fil-A. All right, so the first letter is a C, and C stands for character. So character is the first and most important value in any organization, and it should be the first and most important thing in your life, other than God. Character is who you are. And so Truett Cathy, for those of you that don't know that name, he's the founder of Chick-fil-A. So Truett Cathy was once quoted saying, "We should be about more than just selling chicken. We should be a part of our customers' lives and the communities in which we serve." I'm saying that one more time. We should be more about selling chicken. We should be a part of our customers' lives and the communities in which we serve. That is the character that's built inside of Chick-fil-A. They're going to be more about just doing what they do. They're going to go out and they're going to try and reach people. They're going to reach communities, and they're going to do this and do that. And that is obviously what we do as a church, but you should do that in your own workplace. As people come in, as customers, or maybe it's just your own, your coworkers, whoever it may be, your character should be more about just clocking in, clocking out, doing your job, and that's it. You should, whatever it is, you should find something that you can instill in other people, and that be your character, that be the base of who you are. And this is what we need to think about at our own jobs and whatever it is that we're doing, because nothing is more important than your character, to build your integrity and to make Christ known to others, to everybody. And through Christ-like character, we then have the opportunity to help others in whatever way, in whatever form, in whatever fashion. All right? So let's move on to A. A stands for attitude. Y'all, I don't know about you. I have yet to meet somebody from Chick-fil-A that has a stinky attitude. Y'all may have worse experiences than me. I have never been to Chick-fil-A and them have a terrible attitude. You say thank you and they always say what? My pleasure. It's never, yeah, that's awesome. You're welcome. It's always my pleasure. And so, I think that's super, super cool. And it doesn't matter how happy a customer is, how grumpy a customer is, they're always so happy. Even if something is, not everybody's lives can be going great. I'll tell you a story real quick. I got time. One time when I was in high school, I went, I believe I was going up to a Razorback football game up in Fayetteville, and we stopped by Chick-fil-A, and it was me and my buddy, and this girl was driving, one of our friends, and it was kind of early in the morning, and she needed like a sweet tea or something just to wake her up since she was driving. So we stopped at Chick-fil-A, and she goes, "Boone." I said, "Yeah," and she goes, "In the trunk of my car, I have a cow suit." And for those of you that are like, okay, what does that have to do with anything? A cow is the mascot of Chick-fil-A because they say, eat more chicken. They don't want you to eat beef. They want you to eat more chicken. So she said, "Do you want to put it on?" And I was like, heck yeah. So here I am. And now I've found out that there's an actual day where if you wear a cow suit into Chick-fil-A, they give you a free chicken sandwich. But this was just some random day, and I put the cow suit out in the parking lot, and it was so small that it came up to like my forearms and my shins. It was way too small, but I did it anyway because I'm goofy and dumb, and it was in high school, and I was even goofier and dumber back then. So I was like, whatever, let's do this. So I go in, and everybody starts laughing and cracking up. They think it's hysterical. It didn't matter if it was customers, employees. Everybody was laughing except for this one baby. She wasn't very happy about seeing a cow, but anyway. So we go in. She gets her sweet tea, and we start walking out to the car. And I'm literally getting in the car. Or I'm starting to take the cow suit off. That's what it is. I'm starting to take the cow suit off. And this girl that works the cash register starts running after me. And I love you, honey, but she was very cute. And so she goes, hey, I want to give you something. I was like, yeah, she's going to give me her number. I was like, yes. And she said, and I said, okay, what is it? And she goes, I don't know. She said, you just brought so much joy to all these people and to me and everybody that was working there. We've sat in there and laughed this whole entire time, and we'll always remember that. She was like, I feel like I should give you a free milkshake or something. I said, honestly, I'm good. I said, I just thought it would be funny. And she said, are you sure? I really want to give you something. Once again, I should have said, hey, how about your phone number? But I didn't. But it's things like that. They go out of their way to do things. She had such a great attitude, and she was like, since, you came in and you gave us all joy, I want to serve you as well by giving you, free milkshake or whatever, whatever it was. So what we have to realize with our own work is that we have to remember, as I said earlier, is that work isn't a curse from God. It's not a curse. It was always in the plan. And it's a part of his plan, and when we acknowledge that, it was part of the plan, then we will be able to glorify God, not just by working, by clocking in and clocking out, but we'll be able to glorify him by working with a great attitude, and then and do all these great things for him at our workplace rather than just sitting around and talking with our coworkers about how horrible our work is and how everybody's got workplace gossip, right? And you talk about how you want to go home and it's the weekend and things like that. So rather than doing that, you'll be able to glorify God with this great attitude. All right? So we go on to the next letter, which is R. R is relationships. Y'all, Chick-fil-A is all about relationships. I don't know if y'all have been watching TV. I don't know for those of you that watch TV or not. There's a lot of commercials now about Chick-fil-A and how they've helped certain people. There's like a guy who had come in there like every single day for multiple years, and he was turning 100 years old. So they threw him a surprise birthday party at Chick-fil-A. There was another one where the family had gone to Chick-fil-A every single day, and the husband and father of this family was coming home from the military. So he dressed up as the cow, and they took a picture, and when they turned around, he took the cow head off, and it was him. It was a military reunion. And so it's just things like that. They go out of their way to build relationships with their customers. And so it's just really cool, and I've read all kinds of articles too where they help underprivileged people, and they help people in their community wherever they are. They're changing tires in the rain for people that can't change tires. I mean, it's just really cool the stuff they do and the way they build relationships with everybody. And so how this can apply to us in our workplace, 1 John 4:7 says, "Let us love one another, for love comes from God." Let us love one another, for love comes from God. So your relationships with your people at work, whether it's the people that come in and your customers, whether it is your co-workers, whoever, your boss, whoever it is that you come across, these relationships with your people at work are just as vital, in my opinion, are just as vital as the relationships with your family. Because you're affecting those people, as they see you, as you see them, they will see Christ shining through you, hopefully. And if you're not exuding that, then they're not going to be able to see Christ, and they're not going to be able to reach Him and have a relationship with Him. So you need to show love to the people in your workplace or whatever your work is. You need to show love to them. And not just love, but Jesus type love. Amen. The love of Jesus. It's very easy to go through the day and sit at your desk or sit wherever it is that you are, or stand wherever you are, or go off into your little corner and not talk to people. It's very easy to do that. Or you can get mad at them as they leave and talk bad about them. It's very easy to do stuff like that, right? It's much easier to do that than to love them, especially a difficult person, right? It's a lot easier to talk bad about them than it is to love them. And so we've got to have these relationships, and we got to go out of our way to show love to people, because that is how they could possibly come to Jesus. All right? So we go on to the next letter. The next letter is E. The first E stands for excellence. Y'all, we don't have to get past the chicken nuggets. That's about as excellent as it gets. They are the very definition of excellence. Everything that they do at Chick-fil-A. But the thing is they do everything excellent. And if they don't, then they're going to figure out the problem, and they're going to make sure that you always have an excellent experience. So Chick-fil-A is very, very good at that. So what we have to do is, wherever you go, whatever you're doing, you have to realize that people are watching you. There's always going to be somebody watching you. It doesn't matter what you're doing. People are always, always watching you. Younger, older, same age. It doesn't matter. People are going to be watching you. And the thing is they know you're a Christian. And if they don't, it's because you're not acting like it. So you need to be acting like it. It's one thing to say, hey, I'm a Christian. Hey, I go to church. Hey, I've got Jesus in my heart. Pastor Rick just talked about, God, Jesus, and Holy Spirit, and really dissected all that. It's really, really easy to say, hey, I've got all of that. I know it all. I'm doing all of that. But it's a different thing to live it. So make sure that you are living that, and that it's shining. And 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 31 says, whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. Amen. And that pretty much explains what we're talking about right here. Whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. And one of the best ways you can bring God glory is to do whatever you do for work, do it with excellence. All right? The second E is experience. The founder, Truett Cathy, he worked in restaurants his whole life growing up. He said all the restaurants were open 24/7. He worked every single day of the week, and so he was constantly working. And now his whole family works at the executive level, and they run it, and it's a family-run thing, and they run it all. So obviously, there's experiences, and they've taken experiences from their life and experiences from the founder's life, whether it's their dad or their granddad or whoever, and they've seen what he's done. They've put it into work in all of these restaurants. And so here's the thing, is we all have experiences in our life. They're all different. We all have different kinds of experiences, right? And the thing is God can use them all to bring him glory. Whatever your experience is, good, bad, ugly, it doesn't matter. God can use them to bring glory. And you might not enjoy your job. You might just be a clock in, clock out person. You might be a counting down to retirement person. You may be a I can't wait until the weekend person. You may not enjoy your job, or it might be making you anxious or stressed out or whatever the case may be. But you have to realize that God does not, if you're going to get anything, get this right here. God doesn't waste any of our experiences. You have to realize that God doesn't waste any of our experiences. You might not like sitting behind a desk all day. You might not like flipping chicken. You might not like doing this or that, whatever it is that your job is. You might not like doing that. But you have to realize that you are there and you've been put there by God for a reason. And what we have to do is we have to pray that he will give us pleasure in that assignment until he moves us to the next place, until he moves us into the next season. So if you don't like it, just say, God, just give me pleasure until it's time for you to move me. So there's E for experience. And the last one, R, is for rest. And we all know that Chick-fil-A is always closed the day that we are starving, which is on Sunday. So we all know about Chick-fil-A being closed on Sundays, and like I said, that's always the time that we seem to want Chick-fil-A the most, right? Is on Sundays. But the reason this happened, the reason this is the case is because, once again, the founder, he decided back in the 40s when he created Chick-fil-A, when he started the first one, he said that he was going to close on Sundays because, like I said, he had been in the restaurant business forever, and he had been in restaurants where it was open 24/7, and he had been worn down. He had seen everybody else being worn down. But what he said was, when he started this restaurant, he said, I'm going to close down on Sundays so that not only the employees and that himself and everybody that worked there could enjoy a day of rest, but he said that it would also hopefully give all the customers the idea that they needed to have rest, that they needed to go spend the day with their families, that they needed to go, in his case, he was a religious man, he said, hopefully they'll keep the day holy and things like that. Not that Sunday is the only day that has to be holy. That's a whole nother deal. But that was his idea behind it. So for those of you that don't know exactly why Chick-fil-A is closed down on Sundays, that's why. And so God did what we just talked about this a few weeks ago back with the kids about the creation of earth. And I said, how many days did it take God to create earth? And I love kids' responses. A lot of them told me it took him 2 years, and we had a lot of fun letting them guess. But a lot of them said 7. I said no. I said it didn't take him 7 days to create the earth. I said, how many did it take? And so they started at 1, and finally they got to 6. And I said, yes, it was 6. But it took God 6 days to work, and then he did what on the 7th? He rested. And so it was put inside us that we're supposed to rest. And we're supposed to have a day of rest, and your calendar may not fall. A lot of people say you got to keep Sunday, the Sabbath day, holy. Well, for like Pastor Rick and I, we're working right now, and so we have to take a different day to rest, and that may be your case. You may work every other Sunday or whatever, and you may have to rest on other days. But try and find a day to rest. Exodus 20:8-9 says this. It says, remember the Sabbath by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor, and you should do all your work. But on the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work. So it says the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. So it doesn't matter what the Sabbath is for you. Just take it to rest. Don't do any work on it. Just rest. And you go, okay, but I'm one of those people that's like hyperactive and I have to be doing something all the time. Just unplug for a little bit and just take a little day to fast from your email, kind of put your phone away for a little bit. And I know that's hard for a lot of us, but just unplug from work and say, hey, I'm not going to answer any questions. I'm not going to answer any phone calls, emails, anything like that, unless it is a just complete 100% emergency. Because here's the thing. I found this, and I love this line. Here's the thing. When you unplug from work, it's a sign that you trust the Lord to take care of business in His timing and not in your own. And so that is why we rest. So I'm going to wrap all this up. And I hope you take this message and that you run with it. And, you know, like I said at the beginning, 50% of people that are Christians have never heard a message on rest. And Pastor Rick's talked about working, haven't heard a message on working and God in the workplace. And Pastor Rick's talked about work and stuff, but I know we've had so many people come and go, so you may or may not have heard a message like this before. So I hope that you take this message and that you run with it. And you realize that work is not some mundane, horrible, terrible thing that you absolutely 100% have to do. That's not the case. Because I can guarantee you there's a lot of people out there that don't have work that would love to be working. They would love to have the opportunity that we have to work, but they don't for whatever reason. And so make sure that you realize that it's not just a going through the motions type thing. Realize that work is something that you get to do. It's not something you have to do. It's something that you get to do. And I'll never forget, back whenever Three Bridges came, whenever that was, Pastor Rick and I helped them get all their stuff in here, and then once they were done, y'all all went out there and were talking to them and stuff and hanging out with them. And so I was going to help them break it down, but I couldn't because I had to go over to youth. And so I went up to Elliot, one of their singers, and I shook his hand. I'll never forget. Shook his hand, and I said, hey man, I said, I would stay and help y'all break down, but I said, I have to go over and teach the youth. And I was walking away as he said that, and he still had my hand, and when we were shaking hands, he still had my hand. He pulled me back in real tight, and he whispered in my ear, and he said, you don't have to do that. You get to go do that. And I was like, wow. So that's always stuck with me. And that's how it is with your work. You don't have to work. You get to work. And you need to use it as a chance to glorify God. That's your opportunity to make God known to whoever. So use it. Y'all, people are everywhere, and everywhere people need Jesus. And that includes the people around you when you're working, or the people that come into your workplace. So use that as an opportunity to glorify God.